Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show, Oscar Swaim. Yes,
Woo!
we're talking about Randy. He's here again, coaching with
Good
Releva.
to good
He's
to see you. Good to be here with you.
always to have you. He's here
Yep.
bringing freedom to potential and so many leaders to the foreground with him helping you grow as a Marshall Goldsmith certified coach. I must bring that up.
Thank you.
Coachingforrelevance.com. You can find him. Randy, tell us a little bit about your services, and then we'll talk a little bit about dysfunction because a lot of us are dysfunctional. No one's perfect, but
That's
how that
true.
correlates in the leadership department for today.
We'll do that. And yeah, but a lot of my background, you can kind of see it on the banner up here. A lot of my
Hmm.
background has been flying jets and all that. But I've been along the journey. Guess what? When you're talking about pilots, it's very much like being a leader in any area of today's world where things are not always predictable. Not everything's just purely academic. And can you really experience true success in your team in that
Yep.
kind of environment? And that's what that kind of aspect and how you bring that out of your people in successful ways. That's kind of what I focus on in coaching, and I still train a lot of jet pilots and a lot of flight crews. And guess what? I bring that, and I bring the neuroscience aspect to it, because as I think now, I'm
Yeah.
also a master level neuroplastician with the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience over in Europe, and
Yeah.
and my autobiography was just made public last week on Amazon. So so now I'm officially an author, I guess. But it's a lot of fun with what I bring. But for me, it's not about myself. It's about bringing value to other people so they can reach the success that they would have never imagined possibly. And so that's my passion, and that's what I do.
Well, thank you and congratulations. How has it been so far? My goodness. Gosh, I was with you for a long time and you were still going to school to get your degree. I
Uh-huh.
mean, your like umpteenth degree. That was
Yep.
last year. And then now here you are as an author, add another title to the list. This is crazy in a good way.
Yeah. It is. And I just as people know, I think I shared this with you, Joel, one time, that when you look at my autobiography and all, even if it's 20 years after I take my last breath and I'm no longer
Hmm.
here, I don't mind if people don't remember my name. I don't necessarily mind if they're not even talking about me. What I hope is that they gain one insight, that they remember there was this dude a long time ago, and an insight was brought out, and I applied it to my life, and man, it's just made a big difference. And that's what I hope. I care about the impact and um, the benefit of just the experience that people have had with me, so that in uh, some ways they are achieving things they wouldn't have thought of. They're catching a vision that they didn't ever think they would have before. And I know what it's like to live your dreams because I've done that. And so yeah, it's been kind of amazing.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. Exciting to have you back here today. And what is this about dysfunction that you wanted to kind of dive into a little bit for us?
Well, let's talk about that just for a second, because it's gonna excuse me, it's gonna bring out a central point that a lot of people in today's world don't really think about so much. And you find this in a lot of arenas, if you will. Uh, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, sometimes you see it in faith-based arenas, you see it in business, you see it in teams, you see it on sports teams and things of that nature. And what's amazing is it's just this aspect about when you're talking about making the emotions happen in your people, how are you really doing that in a effective and successful way, and where is it originating it within them? Because as you know, there's a lot of people today that you see, they just want to fire up the emotions in their people, kind of thing. And the problem with that is, and this is what a lot of people don't really truly understand, but when you're totally firing up the emotions in people on your
Yeah.
team, whether it's an athletic team, whether it's a anything, kind of thing, whether it's your business or whatever, when you're trying to fire up the emotions, there's a lot of people that think in today's society, and this is totally incorrect. A lot of people think that if I fire up their emotions, man, they'll get past it. Well, you know what? Not necessarily, because you know what?
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, if the emotions are fired up sort of externally like this, then guess what? When there's a complex, very high risk challenge that comes on scene, and things don't go just the way they wanted it to at the beginning, everything within them can collapse because the emotions were just there from external. But what you got to understand that when you're talking about neuroscience, your brain releases chemicals with neurotransmitters for oxytocin, norepinephrine, all this sort of stuff, kind of thing. And not going to go into all of that today, but the bottom line is what you got to realize is that when people, is it good sometimes for them to have a degree of emotion of where they're wanting to go as a team, and how can I help get us there as a team? Yes, absolutely. But you don't just fire that up externally. What happens is when your brain gets a sense of, okay, you know what? This is where we're going. Boy, you know what? Golly, this is the benefit for us if we do this, if we get it done. Wow. You know what? Yeah, let's do this, kind of thing. The emotion should come from their vision, from their sense of awareness, from their experience and all of that. And there should be a degree of excitement for when they're taking on a challenge, but that excitement is not something that's generated externally. And so a lot of times, if you're a leader and you're trying to get your team ready for a challenging situation or scenario like that, a lot of times you got to ask some of those questions that help them, process the awareness in your frontal lobe, process the awareness of what are we doing? What's the value of that? Oh, wow. You know what? Oh, yeah. You know what? This is some of the risk that can come on scene. This is what we got to watch out for.
Yeah.
And if this comes on scene, what are we going to do? Kind of thing and all that. And then once they get a clear picture of that, a lot of times their brain will release the chemicals, which release those kind of aspects of the stuff. So the bottom line is, and this is something that a lot of people in today's environment don't fully understand. If you understand the neuroscience aspect, you have a much clearer picture of that. But those emotions and those emotional responses and interactions don't come from the outside and make it effectively. What a lot of people try to do is when they're talking to them, they fire them up for two reasons, one of which is, they think and have been led to believe that that's how you get somebody to success. Well, it isn't. The other thing on that is a lot of people do that and they go in and try to fire up the emotions because it puts them in charge of you. Because you know what? As you probably know, Jill, as we all do, if you think back on times in our life when we were very emotionally driven, guess what? When things didn't just go right, we got all sorts of, oh, God, this is not going to work. This is ridiculous. They're just not doing this. That doesn't lead to success.
No.
And so when you get somebody who's just trying to externally fire up the emotions for you, they are showing you their lack of understanding about true leadership and about how you really make this happen and how you don't get in the way. Because I'll tell you, if you fire up somebody's emotions, everybody thinks that, 3 minutes after they leave the room, boy, they're just going. When really they're walking down the hall going,
yeah,
okay, I guess, kind of thing. But the other thing about it is, if you're focusing on just that ability of yours to try to fire up their emotions, what you don't realize is they're becoming so dependent on the emotions that they're throwing their brain into the trash can. And they're not processing and they're not catching the visual of unique factors that come on the scene and things of that nature. And so it's really key that I want to get across to people in this particular session, that when you're talking about leading your team in a challenging environment, that guess what? Not everything is unpredictable. Are the emotions okay? Yeah, but not from your initiating them. It comes from you helping them process and experience and sense and catch a vision of the real successful outcome and what this looks like. And they catch a vision a little bit about when unexpected factors come on, how are we going to handle that? How are we going to do? How are we going to get past that? How are we going to make sure it doesn't shoot us down, kind of thing. And then once they get that picture, and also it's synergistic within the team, guess what? Their heart can be going, yeah, but that's coming from in here. It's not because you're initiating it. And that's what a lot of people, like I said, in our society today don't truly understand in a lot of ways, because, you see now, are there times, like if you're a sports, coach, if you're a sports team, head coach or something, are there times when you may fire it out? Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
let me tell you, if that's your starting point, you're not getting it done. You got to have those conversations that give them a sense of, oh, you know what? We can do this. We can do this. What's keeping you back? Well, golly, let's say nothing. Okay. What's it going to take for you to get over that fear? Put it beside us. There you go. Let's do that.
Yeah.
You all ready? How are you going to do that? Let's do it for each other. And
Yeah.
so there are aspects of where that comes into play when you're talking about challenging situations, but it's a good picture that leaders need to have some awareness of.
Sure.
At what point are you getting in a way of the real success? At what point are you distracting so that the way you're doing that is not leading to where you want to go? And on what basis are those emotions happening? And if it's just from you kind of trying to fire up their emotions, guess what? 3 minutes after they get away from that, it could all just go, okay, well, let's go do this now, kind of thing. And if you think about that, it's it's amazing. And all that is also true of if you think about it, all that is also true of military, engagements, that people might have to deal with, kind of thing. It's not just about getting everything fired up inside. It's getting a sense of the clarity of it and what's going to make it so that you want to go forward and get there with this. And that's the part of the brain when it gets clarity on that. And when it truly brings out the processing, the awareness, it sees it. It also sees what some of the resistances might be, some of the unexpected factors. And you know what? Can we get past that? Yeah. How are we going to get past that? Oh, wow. Yeah. You know what? And they come up with something within their brain that makes them sense that, yeah, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. And when they get all of that is really getting the processing in the brain going so that their clarity is there. It's not just about firing up their emotions and somehow making that the focus of it all. And that's what a lot of people in our world don't fully understand, because there, a lot of movies and stuff, you just see somebody yelling and firing people up, and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? You may be putting their brain in the trash can and saying, okay, you just do this, you do this, and it'll work. Well, guess what? It may not. Are they going to be aware of when something isn't going just where they thought it would? And one of the challenging things that you see sometimes with people today is that they say that because the emotions were generated up, that it should get there. And if it doesn't get there, they just point fingers and blame something. Well, this should have been like this. Well, it wasn't. Sorry, it wasn't, kind of thing. And so all of that aspect of it, when you get people that seem to be simply fired up on generating the emotions in people, they're dysfunctional. And you see that a lot around our society and stuff, because they don't understand the true aspect of leadership on this. There's a true aspect of really getting their processing to understand and to get some vision and clarity on what might the factors be that come on scene that you didn't expect. Do you have what it takes to handle that? Yes, not just through emotions, it's through how are you going to do it? If it comes on scene, are you going to kind of tweak the pathway this way and back? You're going to go over it? You're going to fight it? What are you going to do? Kind of thing. And when people start to get a sense that, what? Yeah, we can do this. Then your brain generates some good feeling and some emotions, and your belief in the success of it, and fires up a little bit of a norepinephrine to fight the journey if you need to and go. But it's not just from generating the emotions from the outside so that I can just control. 9 times out of 10, if somebody's doing nothing but generating emotions externally to their folks, 9 times out of 10, they're just trying to play, and they may not even realize this. I'm not accusing anybody or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, they're just playing control freak games, because you know what? If their team, if somebody is going into rote emotions, guess what? They're not processing the truth of the situations anymore. And you're kind of disconnecting them from that. But that is what you want to gain the real success. And if you see some emotions coming up, and in fact, I shared this in a previous show a while back, but I think I shared when you were the host there, Jill. But the team that I was the site manager for at Griffiths Air Force Base, because of some things we were talking about in a meeting, they really caught a vision for wow, and they started putting some things together. And I'm the boss up there; I can sort of hear where they're going. But in my mind, I'm going, "Yep, you know what?" And one of the guys actually picked up a pen and a pad and went over and sat down, and he was going to draw some notes on some things to go for and stuff. But just before he sat down, he realized that his boss was standing there, and he looked at me. He froze and he looked at me, and all I did, I looked at him, I winked, and I nodded. And he sat down with a smile on his face and started writing some notes of different ways that they could do things and stuff. And so it's just one picture that I allowed the discussion that we had that engendered their processing in their brain to come up with a couple of things that made them feel, oh, yeah, kind of thing. And they started coming up with some thoughts on it. And but you just got to realize that when you're talking, the dysfunctional part of it is when you're trying to just create the emotions from the external while you're there. And 9 times out of 10, if that's where somebody is focusing on, they have a tendency to just be focused on trying to play a control freak game. Because guess what? If you go into rote, emotions, your brain is probably not involved so much. Because it's sort of external. They're just doing something. Now, their brain may have a thought on it or two, but it probably doesn't have the processing going on where it can have a sense of how they're going to overcome restrictions, how they're going to overcome this, that, how they're going to really get there in a challenging situation or whatever, and all of that. And so it's just sort of interesting that there's a lot of people in our society, and I think we've all seen this a couple of times at least, that you have people, like when they're talking, you'll have people, when they're trying to get a message across, right? And
Yeah,
everybody,
irate.
yes, exactly. And everybody down there is going, yeah. Well, you know what? When they leave the room, they're not going, yeah anymore. The bottom line is that's all external. The idea is when you're creating the insights in the people so that their brains can process the truth of it,
Yeah.
and the awareness of it, their brain can then generate some emotions here that help them really um, be aligned with kind of what they're hoping for. And so it's just something to think about when you're talking about this aspect, and it brings us a certain neuroscience aspect to it, and it brings some leadership to it. It's one area that that people that you see in a lot of places today need to think about. Emotions is not about you creating them in the person. No, it's about them processing and them gaining the clearance within their brain, and them gaining a sense where they have sort of a picture in their mind of the experience of it, and they start building the emotions, not you doing it for them. And that's just a key aspect that so many people today don't truly understand. But it's a key aspect of leadership, and it's a key aspect about what you're thinking about when you look at neuroscience and its application to it. And also, just from a leadership standpoint, that aspect about the emotions and stuff, and how that needs to be at play is a key factor in it.
Wow. Wow. And it just keeps coming. Your brain is like, does it ever rest? I mean, I'm following you. I listen to you. I'm just like, I always see new horizons, new things you're talking about, and you're teaching me, just little me a lot about
I
leadership this whole
appreciate
time.
that.
No, but it blows my mind how there's always something different that you're able to talk about. And I got goosebumps. It's like you, darn, you have a way with words, but and
Well, I'll
neuroscience
tell you
now
what,
too. But
these are some insights that,
yeah.
from my experience, and I've been very fortunate. Like I said, back in the military, I was very fortunate to have served with some of the most amazing, truly leading commanders and people that I served with. I mentioned some names before, but I've learned so much about leadership, not from books, but from experiences and things that I did read about the neuroscience and all that. My brain can go back to events that I saw, and I go, oh yeah, that's true. Yep, there was an example, kind of thing. And so yeah, it's but these are some key aspects when you talk about leadership and leading your teams, particularly in a challenging environment or whatever. That it's not just about emotions. If you fire them up externally in the way so many people think they're supposed to, guess what? You took their brain and just throw it in the dumpster. And because they're just going, whoa, 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 whoa. He said, well, guess what? Maybe it isn't. Guess what? The factors that come on scene may not be as clear as you thought.
Yeah.
And so all those are just key aspects that I bring. And thank you for saying what you did. I'm always honored to be here with you and stuff too. So
Well, wow.
cool.
Honored for me,
It's
honored to
amazing.
have you. I
Yeah.
mean, is there anything in your life that you have yet to accomplish I mean, come on now, author. I mean, your career. Is there something lacking in your own life? Just curious, because to me, you're like this, but we're all not perfect. There has to be something that you're still after to achieve now, right? You
Well,
don't ever stop.
Yep. Well, I'm still working on my PhD. I've made some changes on
Okay.
how I'm doing it, so I'm still looking to get that completed. But really, right up until I take my last breath, my goal is to bring freedom to potential to other people with insights, and how often I can stay on this show, and also with my two great grandkids, kind of thing, leaving insights with them, because one of them, the girl just turned 14, and she's within 2 years of getting her driver's license, and it's like, wow, kind of thing. But for them, I love them totally, and I'm never going to put them aside. And for me, right up until I take my last breath, my entire goal is just bringing freedom to people, bringing awareness to people that maybe they didn't see before.
Mhm.
Not to necessarily call attention to myself or anything like that, no, but that it can maybe change their life in a unique way that just makes them think later that it was like, oh, wow, yeah, kind of thing. And so that's my goal.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being here. We need to wrap up in our last 2 minutes together.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, it's always an honor to be with you, Jill. I'm always pleased to be here and chat with you.
Same here. And if we want to reach out to work with you to pick up a copy of your book, tell us how.
Easiest way to do it, good point. Easiest way to do it, you can go to coachingforrelevance.com, my website site. And one of the things that they did, you go to the homepage on it, when you first click on it. And one of the things they did is they put a banner for my autobiography on it. And a couple of seconds after you click onto the website, that banner comes up, and you can click on the little X at the upper top right of the banner and it'll go away, or you just scroll down about that far and there's a little thing that clicks on. It says you can get your copy, and you click on it and it takes you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase it. So it's makes it the easiest way is to go right to my website and see what the banner, like I said, a couple of seconds or so after you get on the website homepage, the banner comes up and you'll recognize it and stuff. So yeah, if somebody wants to, they can do that and just go down kind of to the bottom of the banner, and there's a little button that it says you can get your copy, and you click on it and it takes you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase it. So, and I'd welcome people to get it. And a lot of what you're talking about, I will say this, that a lot of what you're talking about, and I appreciate your comments, Jill, but a lot of what you're talking about was developed in me because of my journey and because of mistakes that I made, but also things that I learned from, things that I saw in some of those incredible leaders with whom I served.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff is where a lot of this comes out. So I would welcome people to go purchase the book and read it and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's, I've been told that I have a story that needs to be told. And so that's why I'm there. But yeah, it's well worth it. But they can go on my website. This is the easiest way to get there. Go on my website, and there's a little, little panel thing that comes up in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yep.
You see the homepage behind it.
Thank
but then you just go to the bottom and click on it. And when you click on it, it takes you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase it. So if anybody would like to, I'd totally welcome them to do that.
Thank you again for being here, Randy. Have a fantastic day. Pleasure having you as always. Amazing stories, amazing insight. And wow, didn't know where this was going to lead today, but eye-opening as always. Love you, Randy. You have a great one, okay? And
I'll tell you what, I love working with you too. And I hope you have an incredible afternoon.
And I love working with you, and I love you as a person. You're awesome. I'm so glad that we're friends, and hopefully in-person friends one day, but it doesn't matter. We're still connected this way. Like, this
I'll tell you what,
it's all virtual. What?
There you go. And you know what? If we ever end up in the same place and can have a cup of coffee together or something, hey, there you go.
Deal. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.